For episode number 60, I'm going to be giving you some behind the scenes a little bit of what happens, some of the spots that I don't normally include because they're not as exciting or thrilling or entertaining, but they make a huge difference in your bottom line, so I'm including them in this episode so we can talk about a few spots that I think are important for your game. On this channel, I'm working towards building up to $100,000 in an investment account from money that I've won at the poker table put into an IRA. Here's where that account balance stands right now. We're on our way to six figures, and we've just passed the 20K mark. It's exciting progress in that account because they say the initial snowball, to get it rolling, to get things going, that's the real difficult part of investing. And once you actually have your account building and growing, then there's just the exponential returns that are possible. This time I wanted to add some shares of a credit card company. I put it out to vote, and you guys said pick up Visa. Visa's about $345 a share, so we're going to need to have a good session. Let's see what we can do. To the tables. This is the first playable hand of the night. I mix it up from under the gun 1 with the bottom of my range with a $20 open holding pocket sixes. This will give me board coverage when the board comes down something like this. Since I was the opener, this board is more likely to connect with the calling ranges of my opponents. I could check and raise when someone bets. But if it checks through, it would be a disaster on a board this connected. I lead for $55. The player behind me has about $500 at the start of this hand and is now raising my bet up to $200. When it gets back to me, I have a pretty easy decision to push the rest of my chips into the middle. He tosses in the call fairly quickly. The run out goes ace of spades followed by the queen of diamonds. I don't love the queen of diamonds coming in. I announce my set. All I don't want to see is something stupid like 6-9 of diamonds. Ugh. We'll throw this one into the bad beat category. Not a great way to start the night. 7 minutes in, down $500. For this hand, I have the 4 of hearts, 5 of hearts, and the hijack. There's an open to $20 and 2 callers in front of me. This is a hand that I would have played a lot when I was first getting started. But if you study similar configurations, you'll come to realize that they are low value spots that often have huge reverse implied odds. If you don't know what I mean by reverse implied odds, what that refers to is basically a hand that is going to win some of the time, but when it loses, it can lose really big because it will make big hands that are not as strong as bigger hands. So this hand is likely to make the dumb end of a straight. Also, when big hearts come in and somebody has the ace X of hearts, they're going to get a lot of my stack when I make a flush and I'm trying to figure out where I'm at in the hand. This also makes smaller 2-pair combination. The amount that you can potentially lose is very high with a hand like this. If you're in the habit of playing hands like this, just fold them next time. Trust me, it's worth it. And you can write me a comment below with a super thanks and say, here, enjoy a cup of coffee. You're going to save me thousands of dollars over my poker career. Hey, you're welcome. We have a player missing from the table when I raise it up to $20 from early position with 8-9 of hearts and get 2 callers. I'm $800 effective with the main villain for this hand in a rematch. It's the same player that took most of my chips to start the night. Flop is 7 of hearts, 3 of hearts, 5 of diamonds. I won't normally have much connection with this board, and I'm okay with seeing a free card if this checks through, so I start off with a check. Villain bets $50. There's a call, and I toss in the call as well with a gut shot and a flush draw. The turn is the 2 of diamonds. I check it again. This time he bets $100. The other player folds, and it comes back to me. I'm going to put him to the test in this spot. I'm live against any holding if he does find a call. Let's give him the Captain Insano play, show him no mercy, and push this thing up to $350.
Ow, man. He poked me in the eye. Captain Insano shows no mercy.
He calls. River is a beautiful 5 of hearts. I bet the state maximum of $300. He makes the call. The flush is good, and the chips have returned to their rightful owner. They even brought some friends along. And it's officially, once again, a winning session. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, this would be a great time to do it. Or else. I added this one quickly also. Here's another spot that is easily overcalled when it needs to be folded. Unsuited Broadway cards, out of position multi-way. Sounds terrible, right? Yet somehow it's easy to talk yourself into a spot like this. I already have money invested. These are the best cards I've seen in a long time. I'm due. These are Broadway cards. I can flop a straight. I can flop 2 pair. Just fold and move on. Trust me, you won't regret it. Here I'm in early position and open with a suited ace. I raise it up to $20. There's a call, and then another opponent wants to play for $80. General rule for a spot like this is you want to have 20 times whatever you are needing to call in order to make it a profitable spot. So in a position like this, I need to call $60. I need 20 times that, which means I actually need $1,200 to be behind in his stack. He does not have that much. So in a spot like this, when my opponent doesn't have $1,200 remaining, he only has about $700. This is an easy fold. Now I pick up a premium ace-king offsuit. There are a couple of limpers and then a raise to $30. I have position, so I'm content to make my raise a 3x plus the dead money in the pot. I raise it up to $105. Everyone's going to make the fold this time, so we pick up $40 without a fight. Again, these hands happen a lot during my sessions. I don't tend to include them because they're not exciting. Hands like this make a big difference in your bottom line at the end of the night. You're going to want to be 3-betting and taking down pots like this pre-flop. Next hand is from middle position, and this is another suited ace. I get 1 caller and the flop comes down 7 deuce 3 rainbow. It's unlikely that my opponent will have hit this board very hard, so I bet $15 when he checks it over. He tosses in the call. This board is unlikely to feel good for the hands that are comfortable calling now by the time it gets to the river. Aggression is imminent. Turn is the queen of hearts. I bet $40, thinking that hands like 7x and medium pocket pairs will likely stick around to face a big, ugly bet on the river. He calls again. River is the 9 of clubs. My opponent hasn't raised me so far. It's unlikely for him to have a monster, given the action up to this point and the board texture. I think it's time to follow through on the plan. I overbet the pot to put him into the pressure cooker, and he lays it down. For this next hand, I get pocket aces versus a player that has been overvaluing medium strength hands. He just recently piled his chips in with a weak top pair like it was a set. This is the perfect opponent to be facing with an overpair. I raise to $20 and get 3 callers including the villain. Flop is 3-7-9 rainbow. I bet $65. Happy to take this one down now. My opponent raises to $140. This looks like a value raise, but again, he's overvalued some hands up to this point. He has only $200 behind. I either need to fold or just jam. If he's getting out of line with a top pair again, I don't want him to get scared of an overcard. If he's on a draw, I don't want him to be able to control the size of the pot by checking to him on the turn. If this was a different player type, I might find a fold. But after watching him put his entire stack in with a very medium strength hand, I'm never folding in this spot. I jam, he snap calls and shows 7-9 off for top 2. I need a 3 or an ace, but it doesn't come in. Yes, I end up losing this hand, but I'm okay with losing to a player like this. The hand that he played before, like he had a set, he had king-jack on a king-high board. So he played it like he had the nuts, but he really was losing to quite a few combinations, especially ones that would be calling for that many chips. Years ago, I played cards with a guy who would remind us that you can make 2 pair with any hand. You can imagine he didn't do very well at the poker table. That said, in a spot like this with 6-10 offsuit, my price is really good. It's easy to think, oh, I'm priced in. Let me just see a flop, see if I can flop 2 pair. But 6-10 offsuit is a used diaper. You're going to lose a bunch of chips over the long run. Your chips are ammo. Save them for important battles. Now, king-queen offsuit in position. Under the gun opens to 20. This one's a call, right? No! The villain is under the gun, and his range has this hand absolutely crushed. Here are the equities. If you know that the moment you put money into this pot, you own less of it than your opponent does on average, why would you ever put your chips in? Just be willing to fold a spot like this. The under the gun opening range is going to be stronger than king-queen offsuit. You might be getting annoyed with me because I'm kind of just rehashing the same essential concepts over and over again. But what I'm trying to teach you is the difference between what losing players do and what winning players do. And what winning players do is we fold and wait for better spots. If you're calling in these spots, practice folding. Practice getting out of these hands and waiting for better spots to get your chips involved. That way you can plug the leaks in your game and get yourself to a win rate. Now from early position, I get Jack 10 suited and open to $20, getting 3 callers. Flop is good for my hand, 10-6 deuce. With this many callers and a medium kicker to go with my top pair, I'm going to check this one and assess with better information. There's a bet of $45, a caller, and then it's back on me. I toss in the call as well. Turn is the jack of diamond. I checked this one in flow, but looking back, I think this is a spot that needs to be a lead. Several draws are now possible, and the top pair combinations from the flop containing a 10 are likely to call a bet, but check if checked to. That plays out as both players check behind me. River's another 2, bringing in the diamonds. I lead out for $125. I'm not very worried about the diamonds coming in since they were backdoor diamonds, and I expect that I can get called by a non-believing 10x based on the way this one played out. If I end up paying off a better hand, that's fine. I was going to call a bet of this size anyway. It's worth tossing out the chips and hoping that I can get called by worse that doesn't believe. That's exactly what happens. Opponent says he had a better 10 on the flop, likely ace 10. Well, 8-9 suited worked out earlier, and I have 8 of spades, 9 of spades in a bomb pot. Straight to the flop where we find a tantalizing ace of spades, 7 of spades, 9 of hearts. It's unlikely that I currently have the best of all this, but I have a ton of equity. Opponent to my right bets $50. I'm making the call. Everyone else gives up. The turn is a beautiful 8 of hearts. Now I'm officially ready to play for stacks and have my heart broken if it doesn't go my way. My opponent is not feeling as stoked about his hand as I am. He slows down with a check. I think he's the kind of player that will be holding a strong ace here. Let's try to get some value. I bet $100 and he makes the call. The river is pure gold. We make the boat and he checks again. Now we just have to figure out, what do we do when we have a boat?
Quit playing with your dinghy.
Let's see if we can get the crying call from an ace. I bet $250 and he does eventually throw in the call, followed by his hand. Ship it.
I just win. I'm on 10.
I'm not going to explain this one too much either. I'm in the big blind. There's multiple players after a $20 raise. This medium offsuit hand is a great way to lose more money out of position. Instead of thinking you have $5 invested, think to yourself, I'm paying $5 every time I'm in the big blind just to see hands. And know that that's just a given cost of the game. That way you don't feel like you need to defend it as much. Remember that you're playing out of position. These make small hands that don't hold up very well, and it's really easy to lose chips. Save your money for a better spot. All right, this hand is 40% of a royal flush. There's an open to $20, and I bump it up to $65 out of the hijack. A stack of $70 jams. I was off by $5 with my original bet. I thought he had 65. Original raiser calls, and I can either throw in $5 more or fold. Now we can very safely use the pot odds argument. $5, we're going to call here. How about we do something cool, like just flop the butters? I bet $85, hoping that my opponent has a piece of this and wants to go big with a 2-pair or set combo. Instead, there's a fold, but I hold up versus the all-in player, and this pot's coming to me. Now pocket kings on the button. There's an early position open to $15. Middle position raises to $40. It folds around to me. I'm going to fire the 4-bet up to $150. Both players end up folding, and $55 gets added to the stack uncontested. Again, not the most exciting hand, but this spot should be happening to you in your sessions. You should be having an opportunity to 3-bet and 4-bet and take some chips down. The very next hand is a slightly worse version of the previous one, but I'm not complaining. I have the 4th best starting hand in the cutoff. The low jack opens to $15, and I make it $55. Small blind comes in ice cold, and the original raiser gets in there as well. When you have jacks, you're not looking for multiple callers. Multiple callers is terrible news with jacks. Homie in the small blind doesn't seem to know that I raised so that he wouldn't call. Let's go to the flop. Ace high. Ugh. This flop might as well be a spear to the femur.
Yeah! I'll have you know I have the reflexes of a cat and the speed of a mongoose. Throw it. I dare ya!
Not only that, but it's like a second spear in the femur when I have an opponent betting and the lower combinations that I was beating pre-flop have now made sets.
Don't just stand there! Throw me a spear!
Ace Jack offsuit under the gun. This is one that took me a long time to trim out of my game. The reason you want to fold this hand pre-flop under the gun is that it doesn't really make flushes. It makes a lot of top pairs, but some of the top pairs aren't going to necessarily be the best hand. You might be called by an ace queen and lose. You can't control the action because you're out of position, and you have tons of players left, so you could end up very multi-way by the time this thing gets through. So this just isn't a strong enough hand, and you're actually more likely to lose with it than you are to win over the long run. This is one you can just let go. It took me a long time to learn the discipline, to see beautiful cards like that and say goodbye to them under the gun. But you should. Into this session for $1,400, out for $1,920. That means we made $520. That's a share of Visa and some money to give away on the Wheel of Cash. If you're not familiar, the Wheel of Cash is for supporters of this channel. I'm giving away $52 to this person.
I just win. I'm on 10.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. If you liked it, like it and sub it down below. I'll talk to you next time.